Hello everyone and welcome to Mr. G's. Today we will cook and bake a staple of American British, or was it British American cuisine. It's produced easily but even more tasty and therefore enjoyed in all parts of the world. That's right, I'm talking about baked beans. But here's the question: who invented baked beans? Let's check opinions here. Who invented baked beans? Now isn't that obvious? Here we have proof. A full English breakfast is served with toast, sausages, tomatoes, mushrooms, bacon, eggs and baked beans. As long as I can remember, baked beans have always been there. So baked beans can only be a British invention, right? Wrong. Baked beans are a cowboy story. In the long days and nights in the prairie, they kept us alive and helped us survive. Prairie food had to be simple and tasty. Fill your belly, work on your muscles, and be easy to carry. Ain't that so, horsey? We spooned the beans right out of the can. So take that, Brit. Baked beans and cowboys belong together like stars and stripes, making baked beans 100% American.
Baked beans are a simple dish, be it a main dish for cowboys or a side dish for a typical English or British breakfast. Therefore, we only need a little number of tools. We need a cutting board and a paring knife, a wooden spoon and a pan. We need a baking dish, a ladle for serving, and measuring instruments, a tablespoon and a teaspoon. The ingredients list is a little longer. We need oil, onions, chili peppers, smoked paprika, salt and pepper, some butter. We need a big can of beans and a smaller can of tomatoes, some bay leaves, maple syrup and vinegar, some rosemary, Parmesan cheese, breadcrumbs and bacon.
Here's the first thing we want to do. First, we want to chop the onions and the chili peppers. Let's go. What we do is we cut the onion into halves and then cut the onion into fine little dices, just like that. And once we have removed the seeds from the chili peppers, like this here, so the seeds have got to go. Then we cut the chili pepper and make sure we have fine little pieces here, just like that. The next step, we need the onions and the chili peppers, a teaspoon full of smoked paprika, some oil, and then we will cook the onions and the chili peppers in our pan for, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes until the onions have changed color and everything has become totally soft.
When the oil is hot enough, we add the onions and the chili peppers and a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And we cook everything for 10 or 15 minutes until everything has changed color and gone completely soft. Make sure you reduce the heat on low because we don't want our onions and chili peppers burnt.
Okay, look at the color here. They're finished. And now what we do next is we take a knob of butter, add it into our pan. And once the butter has melted, we add beans, tomatoes, some bay leaves, and season everything with salt and pepper. Okay, butter has melted. Now let's add the beans here. The tomatoes. The bay leaves. Give it a good stir. Some salt. And finally, we season everything with pepper, and well, then we will let it simmer for 1.5 hours.
After 1.5 hours of simmering or cooking, our beans look like this. And now it's time to start the baking part. Here we will pour the beans into our baking dish, season the beans with a tablespoon of maple syrup and vinegar, and then we will also produce a topping out of breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese, bacon and rosemary, and sprinkle that topping over our beans.
Now here we go. Beans go into our baking dish here. Easy. Then we use a good tablespoon of maple syrup for seasoning. Right. And some vinegar here. There you go. Stir it a little. And then we produce a topping out of breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese and bacon, and of course rosemary. But of course we need to cut the bacon into fine little pieces here to make sure we can spread the pieces over the beans. Well, should you not like bacon, of course you can ignore that step here, or ignore the bacon, and well, just enjoy the beans with breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese and rosemary. Of course, other alternatives will do as well. To produce the topping, we want to use, well, fresh rosemary sprigs here. Should you not have fresh rosemary at hand, of course you can use rosemary powder, well, maybe a tablespoon, and then we need a good handful of breadcrumbs, a good handful of Parmesan cheese, mix it nicely, and our bacon
8 slices here. And you mix that nicely and spread that topping over our beans. Just like this here. And then we will bake our beans for, let's say, well, 40 minutes at a 180 degrees in our oven. And we're finished when our topping looks golden and crispy. Here we go. Time to move our baking dish into our preheated oven.
Now will you look at that. 180 degrees of heat, 40 minutes of baking time. See you later, beans. Here we go, golden and crispy. It's serving time. Enjoy your meal. Let us come back to the question, who came up with the idea of baked beans? Who invented baked beans? Was it Britain or was it the United States of America? Here is the answer. We, the Native Americans, are the true inventors of baked beans. Beans, or as some people say, the poor man's meat, had been prepared by us for centuries before the first settlers came into the so-called New World. What was new to them was our native land and our culture. We used to dig holes in the ground and line these holes with rocks. Then we put a fire into the hole to heat the rocks. Once the fire had burned down, we baked beans in clay pots overnight using the heat of the rocks. Our people were overrun and our land stolen by uninvited settlers. But our history and our culture must not be forgotten and our talents respected.